This week on ICN, the stories you should have heard but didn't. Government at its best allocates $300 billion to help one family avoid foreclosure. Obama's mandatory youth service, a page right out of history? Is Flint, Michigan, birthplace of GM, a sign of things to come for the rest of America? Missouri Highway Patrol gets a crash course in damage control. Those stories and more next on Informed Citizen News. Hello and welcome to ICN, Informed Citizen News, March 29th, 2009. Most of the country has put their faith in the federal government and the Federal Reserve to fix the foreclosure problem. In yet another example of government incompetence, the Hope for Homeowners program, created in October 2008, was to prevent foreclosures by letting an estimated 400,000 troubled homeowners swap their mortgages for more affordable loans. The $300 billion three-year program is designed to help borrowers who owe more on their loans than their homes are worth. After the first 6 months, the program has been a complete and total failure and has been able to help one, that's right, just one homeowner. Congressman Michael Castle, who sits on the House Financial Services Committee, called Hope for Homeowners one of the most failed programs we've had in a long time. It's quite an achievement to become one of the most failed government programs. The White House recently came up with a supposedly bigger and better plan. Obama's new program helps those whose home values have only fallen 5% below the loan amount. If you owe more than 5% of the value of your home, then you don't qualify. With property declines averaging 20 to 40% across the country, doesn't that leave out almost everyone? It appears to us that these plans are purposefully created to help no one while at the same time getting positive headlines for a few days when the plans are announced. The national press continues to let Americans down. They should be dissecting these plans and throwing them back at our politicians. 2 months ago, we ran a story about how the Obama administration was likely to push for a mandatory national service for young people. Obama had talked about the idea during his campaign, and his chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, wrote about mandatory youth service in his book. This past week, one congressional bill dropped the language describing the service, while another bill added the same description. House Resolution 1444 has language reminiscent of, dare we say it, Nazi Germany. The bill states that a commission shall analyze whether a workable, fair, and reasonable mandatory service requirement for all able young people could be developed, and how such a requirement could be implemented in a manner that would strengthen the social fabric of the nation and overcome civic challenges by bringing together people from diverse economic, ethnic, and educational backgrounds. If that language isn't scary enough, let's compare it to the following, describing another youth service from history. It states, "This shared National Socialist worldview makes it possible for German citizens to participate actively in the formation of our national life. Regardless of his position, each German can, through thought and deed, participate in political, cultural, and economic renewal. This common worldview is the unbreakable bond that holds together the leadership and the followers of our people in their common labor." If you hadn't guessed it, the previous quotation was from a pamphlet of the Greater German Youth Movement, otherwise known as the Hitler Youth. It is truly demoralizing to find common language in a United States congressional bill and a Hitler Youth pamphlet. We hate to pile on, but another Obama administration objective is universal preschool. Titled the 0 to 5 Plan, it targets early care, beginning with infants. States will be given grants to begin moving toward universal preschool. Government has done such a great job with the 14,000 hours they have kids between kindergarten through high school that they want to expand it to another few thousand hours and get them even younger. The 0 to 5 plan will encourage less parental involvement and much more government involvement. Are parents becoming surrogates for future laborers to be property of the state? Can you imagine a town experiencing such economic trouble that the city representatives are considering an extreme measure that was once unthinkable, shutting down portions of the city, officially abandoning them, and cutting off police and fire service. Property abandonment is getting so bad in Flint, Michigan, that some in government are talking about shutting down quadrants of the city and abandoning city services. Flint, Michigan has been the home to General Motors since its founding in 1908. Once the American dream, where one could graduate high school, get a good job, buy a house in the suburbs, and raise a family. Now it is a town of lost hope. GM, who is 80% owned by U.S. government, was once America's largest employer with over 1 million employees. The average worker earns $17 an hour. Now America's largest employer is Walmart, where the average worker earns $8 per hour. We have come a long way. Our leaders over the 4 decades' demise have traded our long-term prosperity for their short-term gain. The saddest part of it, the American people let this happen. We're sure many of you have heard of the Missouri government report that linked third-party supporters to domestic terrorism. The Missouri Highway Patrol this week retracted a controversial report on militia activity and will change how such reports are reviewed before being distributed to law enforcement agencies. The original report suggested that domestic militias often subscribe to radical ideologies rooted in Christian views, opposition to immigration, abortion, or federal taxes. If you hold any of these views, you must be a terrorist. So Missouri wanted to profile Americans disgruntled with an overbearing, intrusive, and secretive government by creating an overbearing, intrusive, and secretive government report. Thank you for joining ICN this week. Americans need to be informed, so please send our link to your friends and family. From all of us at Informed Citizen News, have a great week.